The MoneroTopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
This
right.
is a hell of a day to do price report, right? you gotta. It's the bad news has already been broken, but now you can give us your analysis of it.
For those that were watching, this is not unexpected, right? This is something I actually said. I informed Tux not to worry, that he had a very good chance of getting back to to levels that on his Zcash investment. Tux was ahead of the game. He was ahead of everyone, man. He had the Zcash. He bought a little bit of it, and hey, it worked out pretty good for him. But enough about.
Well,
Zcash.
I may have grabbed a little bit as well. Not with I may have grabbed a little bit as well. Like I did say, it was very easy to obtain on Coinbase, and that is an advantage.
I vote to evict Doug from MoneroTopia for not being Monero purist enough. Who's with
Well,
me?
I mean, if it turns into Monero eventually, why should we care, right?
No, I'm just messing around. Go ahead, Body.
I don't know. It's fine. Please comment away. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna lay out more, obviously, of a nefarious kind of thesis here about what's going on. But one thing is certain: this playbook works, and they use this playbook all the time because it works, and they've been doing this at least since the Willy bots on Mt. Gox, but probably since the very, very beginning. But at least since those Willy bots, they pump the coin. Right, they artificially pump it with the kinds of mechanisms that they have, which amounts to leverage and front running, and at this moment, Tether is like the Federal Reserve of crypto. It is no accident that the way that they do their fractional reserve scheming mirrors almost exactly the Federal Reserve and the banking system. Right, so you've got Tether as the Federal Reserve, and the exchanges are kind of like the banks, and they use this mechanism. They pump the coin. They shill it, and now they've got the AI, so they can really, really astroturf in ways that they couldn't do before. And then people, you get, you generate the organic interest. So we'll get to that in a second, though. That's Zcash, obviously, and we'll take a look at that chart. But here's Monero. Doug, can you maximize my charts here? Put them on the full screen. And then so okay, we're looking here at Monero, and we said last week that we're looking at a pretty good chart pattern here. Like overall, this is not bad action at all. We could even maybe try and draw some lines here. I don't know, just dubiously. Let's change that to white. Insert some racist joke there. Just kidding, guys. Okay, so we've got like this sort of ascending wedge. Probably things will sort of continue up along this wedge. This is a dubiously drawn line that I just ad hoc drew in the moment. Let's go down to the 2 hour and see if we can gain some more resolution. Effectively, this actually has a very strong reminiscence of what happened before we broke out to that 400 level back earlier this year. So, effectively, we're pushing up against kind of this horizontal area, right? So we just drew like a certain, we just drew an upsloping line. We could also draw a horizontal area of significance here and say, hey, we are currently breaking out of the horizontal resistance. Both of those would probably be more or less valid ways to look at this. But overall, what you're looking at is chart patterns and different ways of looking at it to say, hey, we are showing strength. Monero price is showing the tendency to try and beat previous, sort of local highs. And obviously, you've got the blue bands there, right? You've got the upper standard deviation bands kind of telling the same story. So we are looking at making continued gains here. Is it going to be 10x in a month? Obviously, yes. Obviously, there's no question. There's no doubt about that. And Spyro Bell agrees. We, Monero to the moon here. Like in short order, you're going to miss the train, and it's probably going to be flip Bitcoin within a year, 2 maximum. All right, levity aside. This chart pattern right now looks like kind of a very kind of a similar version of what we saw before the breakout. I just wanted to show you here. So this guy right there, right? kind of like right here before the breakout, I said, hey, don't expect Monero to break out. Don't expect it to break out. And then kind of right here, we said, hey, this is actually showing some pretty big strength. And then the next thing that happened was a hack. There was a dirty hack, and people used that dirty coin Monero to wash their dirty funds. So if we break out again, if we make some other big breakout, don't be surprised if that comes along with some kind of bullshit, manufactured narrative or some quote unquote hack or whatever. Was it a real hack that happened previously? The evidence looks like yes, in terms of like their on-chain behavior, but I mean, guys, stuff can be manufactured, right? Like those kinds of things, they can. I won't get into the mechanisms, the reasonable, not crazy mechanisms by which it would be easy to make something look like a hack. Or it could just be that the hack happened, and they're like, "Oh, there's a hack. We could just say, hey, it's Monero, right?" Like, but let's get our he's selling on some exchanges. Let's grab those funds and then let's flip that into Monero a little bit. And then we can say that the reason Monero broke out was because of a dirty hack, right? Like, so again, this is like adversarial kind of thinking. You have to be careful with this. You can't just be like, well, it makes total sense that, they would do this. Like that's not really the best way to go about like making certain judgments. But I'm just saying, if we get another big breakout here to the 400 level, back to all-time highs, 500, and it happens in short order, don't be surprised if that comes with some kind of like hack narrative or some other kind of like nonsense out in the news social sphere. But anyways, yeah, things looking good on the Monero price overall. Like steady up, steady movement up. I would really, that's a much healthier scenario to be just making slow, steady gains over time than it is to be making 10x gains in a month. That's not sustainable. The ratio is also doing pretty good. The inverse right shoulder continuing to play out as we would have hoped. So again, I'm not. I do like Head and Shoulders, kind of like is like, oh cool, like a note of curiosity to supplement other aspects of analysis. Right now, we are going to encounter probably a little bit of resistance in this zone. I don't know exactly how much, the markets can do their own things and surprise you, as they often do. But yeah, this right here would be a spot. It's not a hard spot. Like this is not a aha, here's the line. I'm going to get short here for the rebound.
Body.
Great.
This right here for us blind people.
That would be the let's see, the Bitcoin Monero ratio. I have a divisor on this. I'm retarded for doing that, but I think that is 0.03. Would that be 0.03? Let me check. Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
At the 0.03. No, 0.003 of Bitcoin's ratio. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I talk about. Like if you're listening on the radio, you're not going to understand these charts. I'm sorry. Like the wave magic is extremely visually, I don't know. I don't want to say intense, like Mountain Dew or something, but it's these, like the wave magic has a lot of information that's hard for me to really describe with words. But yeah, so this upper, the lower standard deviation, the orange bands, this upper portion of this band structure currently sits at about 0.0033. But I'm saying that's not a hard capping level, right? You're not looking at that and saying, hey, this is the line and I'm going to get short here at this line and go for a rebound. That's not how these lines work. It gives you a zone. It tells you like, hey, here's kind of a zone, an area that you should be looking at some kind of resistance here. And that can inform your trading decisions, and often it does. Some of these features have stronger signals than others. Anyways, things looking good with the Bitcoin ratio there, and we should probably expect a little bit more bullishness until we encounter a little bit of resistance, and then we could continue to go up. Depends, maybe not. Bitcoin's still looking sluggish. We'll get to that in a second. Monero versus Ethereum continuing to do pretty good at this point. I think we should hope to expect to hit about the 0.0. I probably have a divisor on this chart as well. Well, anyways, we should continue to hit. We should hope to hit this upper standard deviation cluster, which would currently, on the ratio of Monero to Ethereum, which would currently be about 12% higher. So yeah, things looking reasonably okay there. And then the XMR dominance really is just going to be a composite of the Bitcoin and the Ethereum charts. Very similar structure you can see here. We would hope to get to this upper cluster At the current moment, I don't think that that's in the cards immediately. I think that this band cluster, so for the XMRD chart, the blue band cluster, and you'll also notice that's coincident with the lower standard deviation, the orange bands, right? So overall, we're looking at some level of resistance coming up here on the ratio when it comes to Monero to the other coins. You could use that if you're a trader. You could use that to say, all right, maybe soonish, once we get another, say, 10% higher, another maybe 10% of relative overperformance, or maybe 20% overperformance to other coins. Maybe that's an opportunity to flip from Monero into some other, I don't know, probably something degenerate, maybe Zcash. I can't buy stuff that's gone up this much, guys. It's just I'm not able to do it. My sensibilities won't let me do it. It's just too much risk in my mind. There's other stuff I want to get in, like Tux did down here, right? I want to get down and like at the $40 level and be like, I don't know, fucking Zcash, whatever. They're attacking Monero. Maybe I should just like buy some Zcash for no good goddamn reason, and then just let it ride and dump somewhere up here, right? That's what you really like. That's where you make the gains. And you don't have to invest very much to do that. I don't like chasing because it's too easy. After if my emotional state gets me into chasing, there's probably a reason, right, that I feel that way, and it's probably been manufactured, right? I'm not immune to having emotional predilections and watching something go up and be like, oh, I'm missing out. I got to get into the Zcash now. Like, I just look at my own emotions and I say, okay, that's probably a counter signal. It's a heuristic, but generally speaking, I will, especially on extreme movements, and when the market starts to get heavily lopsided after some long like trend has been ongoing for a long time, I'll look at my emotional state and I'll like, if I'm fearful to sell, I'll be like, yeah, maybe that's a good sign that I should sell, right? Like if I got a lot of gains and I'm like, no, but I could get more, and I'm feeling greedy, right? That's a counter signal. Anyways, yeah, here's Zcash. I just want to point out a few things, guys. Let's just go here back. Let's rewind by 30 days or 30. What would that be? 33 days. Oh my God, 33. There's that number again. So that's 700%. That's an 8x in 30 days. Fuck you. You will never convince me that this is an organic movement. That's not to say that there isn't an organic component of this. Certainly there is, right? People chasing. Doug is a good example, right? Doug said, hey, I bought some Zcash. I assume it was probably in the last 30 days. Maybe even around this dip right here. Maybe this dip, I don't know. The point is that assets moving organically do not do 8x in 30 days out of nowhere for no fundamental underlying reasons that happened. Something like brand new that came out that smashed the market, that completely revolutionized the paradigm, yada, yada, right? Assets don't do this, especially not assets that are, how old is this? 8 years old, right? 8-year-old assets do not do this without releasing some game-changing paradigm, disarray, whatever, like blow your tits off, hop in your Jeep and drink Mountain Dew while we go waterboarding, kind of bullshit. Like that, you just don't get that, right? And then let's do another little thing. Let's just go down to here and then say, okay, in the last 2 months, slightly more than 2 months, this thing has done a 13x. So that's not organic action. And okay, if you got in on this pump and you're riding this pump up, sure enough, bro, I play the game too, right? Like, listen, I was a hex enjoyer back in the day, so I will always use that to point three finger. If I'm pointing a finger at someone else, I will always use hex as my quintessential example of the three fingers pointed back at me. So I get it, right? Get your gains, right? No one's gonna hate on you for getting your gains, but I'm always gonna keep it real. Like even as I had hex, I was like, yeah, it's kind of scammy, but it's gonna pump because Richard Hart had a good fucking narrative back in the day. He screwed the whole thing up. It's over now.
I've just got my big Tari bag.
So what?
I was just saying, I've just got my big Tari bag. I'm just waiting for it.
Yeah, Tari's a great play. Fucking hang on to that, man. Let it ride for a year. Let it ride for 2 years. At some point, Tari is the exact kind of coin that you would think, hey, this thing could pump 10x, right? You could get your 20, 50x out of Tari. That could happen. It's not a totally unreasonable thing to happen. If it doesn't happen in this bull market, I'm going to start to become a little bit more suspicious. But all right, so here's the cubic chart. Cubic is not doing so great. They're currently trying to show that they can hang on to this lower resistance area, right, in that orange band. it's not a good looking chart pattern at the moment. It's not that it can't be salvaged. It's just that these orange bands are already starting to curl under just a little bit here. And if it goes any lower, that is going to be a sign of the bottom falling out on Cubic. It also will make me wonder if the bull market isn't over. I kind of feel like Cubic could, and I got to think about this some more. If any of you guys have any ideas here on this, shout out, put them in the comments, whatever. Hope you know, I never check the comments. Let's make sure. Let's see if we want to put the super chats, the XMR chats up here. We could totally comment on the XMR chats. I love his name too. If Doug is around, he could put up the XMR chat. If not, just let me know when you put that up there, and I'll read it out. Anyways, okay.
Speaking of XMR chat, just offhand, apparently they're releasing a co-host feature so that you and iBody could be co-hosts on Doug's XMR chat or whatever, and Tux too, and that way we could have access to bring things up on screen and stuff.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I need to be able to do that because because Doug has, he's divided in his responsibilities there, so it's not easy for him to necessarily just drop the baby and then come put up the XMR chat. Although, arguably XMR chat's more important, bro. Just kidding. Okay, so yeah, this idea, I'm going to put this idea out here. Send me an XMR chat or send out a comment. But I feel kind of like Cubic could be an important bellwether, an indicator, a heuristic of the bull market. Because for as long as the bull market is going on, they want to distract you into their Zcash or into their other fucking coins. Maybe Zcash pumpage is the replacement of the Cubic pumpage, right? Maybe they did enough with the 51% attack, the selfish mining attack that never got above 33%. Maybe they did enough with that, and so they pivoted to Zcash, and so that's the pump now. But I feel kind of like Cubic should be a representation of this bull market in the sense that they need a high price for Cubic to continue fucking, doing the selfish mining, the attack, the bullshit news. And with Cubic down here, it makes me ask, how strong is the bull market? I don't know. It's a small side. It's a side thought, right? But it's something that should be thought about. Maybe we can mature that idea a little bit more. Maybe I'll come back with something next week. I don't know. Pirate Chain, finding resistance at actually a pretty reasonable spot to expect Pirate Chain to have resistance. I think we talked about this. I don't remember if I mentioned that or not, but yeah, you've got these purple bands. They're almost about to start curling up, but they haven't started curling up yet. They're actually just stabilizing from a very long-term downtrend. We've also got kind of this upper standard deviation cluster, this blue band cluster, same deal. So this is definitely a zone that you would expect Pirate Chain to have some issues with. It wouldn't surprise me to watch Pirate Chain make some stark wick down and then come back up, and then finally try and hit our actual target here, which we said 1.2, right? $1.20, $1. That's about where you want to really look at selling your Pirate Chain. If it's super strongly bullish and there is no pullback and it just goes straight here, then I probably wouldn't sell it until $1.50. I would actually try and target just above these blue bands. But at any rate, yeah, Pirate Chain has been doing well, and it's not too surprising, with Zcash and all that going on. And I'm not sure how much I trust Pirate Chain at all, anyways, and what kind of stuff. Who knows who might be involved with there and all of their ASIC mine coins, just like Zcash with their ASIC mine coins. Okay, I don't care about Darrow. Actually, let's do we have Tari? Is Tari on here yet, or do I still have to go to the stupid? It's not Tari USD. I always forget. It's help me out here. What is the full correct name of Tari?
Minotari.
Minotari.
I
wish they would put this here. It is XTMM. That's not the best nomenclature. XTMM.
Because Tari is. I know Tari is XTM, so I know that's their little symbol thing or whatever.
At least here in TradingView it says XTMM USD.
That's weird. All right.
There's Bitfinex. No, that's XLM. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I feel like XTM is already taken. Whatever. All right, that's the weekly. No, let's go to the daily. So wow, Jesus, man, really just been falling off. Fluffy, you got to talk to Paris. This has got to be her fault. I don't know what's going on, but Paris is not a believer.
Paris is dumping her bags. Oh man, all right, I'll buy some of Paris's bags.
Yeah, Paris. Yeah. You're selling too early. You don't even realize, girl. All right. Hey, can you put up the super chat? We have, or sorry, the XMR chat. We have System D Lover. Love the name for all the cheeky reasons. Thanks for a great show. He tipped 0.01 XMR. Thanks for a great show. Last week, Body teased that maybe he had something to say about System D. I'd like to hear it. Oh man, I'll have to post it on Twitter. I don't know if you're on Twitter. All right, let me see. Let me do an ad hoc, non-price related, if I can get it in like 30 seconds. The problem with System D is that it is a monolithic runtime that forces you into the decisions that Red Hat has made for the entire Linux ecosystem. They have forced themselves as both an upstream and a downstream dependency of the entire ecosystem. It is hard to run a system without System D. You can do it, right? But you're going to get some wonky action on some of your programs. And they came in to solve what was allegedly a PID1 problem. So you've got your kernel, right? It boots into your hardware, into the firmware, et cetera. And then you have to load the first process, which is going to control and start up all of your other processes, like your networking and all this other stuff. And then they rolled everything, like all this other shit into it, your package management system. And they just rolled everything. Not package management, excuse me. But they rolled all of this extra stuff, all of the stuff like, these should be modularized, independent component pieces that you can swap out at will if you desire. System D is this opaque behemoth of monstrosity code. It's like 2 million, 1 or 2, maybe 3 million lines long. It is a backdoor through over complexity. And the only thing that needed to be solved was PID1, the init system, right? Say, okay, let's start this service and start this service and start up all the services that make your computer do the things that you need it to do. And that's totally fine. The init system sucked before System D. But the problem is that they, instead of actually just creating a new init system that was good, which it is like reasonably easy to use, but the problem is that everything is now an opaque System D controlled element, and you can't swap out these elements to your own liking. Some of them you can, but they keep removing optionality. And that was one thing they were like, oh, you'll still be able to use all your services that you want. But no, they've removed the options on all of that. So again, it's a monolithic runtime, which is different than a monolithic repository of saying, hey, here's a bunch of stuff that you could install if you want. System D demands what you have to run. It was a takeover by Leonard Pottering, by Red Hat, and by IBM, and the corporate monstrosity that took over open source around circa 2013, 2014. So I hate System D. It's horrible. And onward we go. All right, so we've talked about privacy shitcoins enough. Let's move on to the big daddy of them all, as I call him, the big abusive daddy, Bitcoin, which is currently abusing everyone at $108,000 instead of $108 million. My hyper Bitcoinization has not been forthcoming, and I'm going to have to blame, I don't know, Maxie's. Let's see, we could either blame Cat Eater or we could blame Adam Back. Maybe we could blame BlackRock. But really, I just need to look in the mirror to know why hyper Bitcoinization hasn't happened, because I sold my Bitcoin for Monero. So that's why I had at least 23 million Bitcoin. All right, so Bitcoin actually not doing bad here. We've got this lower standard deviation band. It's still kind of riding that lower band. It's not good to ride bands like that. That starts to feel a little bit like it wants to break down. But let's be real, guys. We broke down over here like even worse back earlier this year, right? So February, March, April. So things broke down. You could still break down from this band and still be bullish. You might even, it's not out of possibility to break down to like 90,000. Like that could happen. I don't see why that should happen necessarily. That would be terrible. And oh, by the way, let's look at the monthly candle. This is like the worst bull market October that we have ever had. Like Bitcoin has never had this bad of a October in a bull market. It is always green candle. This was red candle October. Not great. Not like from a technical analysis standpoint, this doesn't look great. You can see the diminishing returns on this bull market, on this particular bull market, right? Not the holding. You've got this big movement upwards, less of movement, barely anything. So you start asking yourself, is the RSI diverging here? Are we done? I don't know. Let's look at the RSI. I haven't looked at RSI in forever. RSI, yes, that is absolutely bearish divergence on the RSI. You've got lower highs on the RSI, all the while making higher highs on the price. That is weekly RSI bearish divergence. That's a horrible fucking pattern, guys, like especially in crypto. Weekly RSI bearish divergence is a terrible, terrible thing to see on a crypto chart. So Am I saying Bitcoin is going down? No, not necessarily. But goddamn, this
Run for the digital hills. Body says
Yeah.
that's a fucking horrible pattern.
It is, like, I mean, just from a technical analysis standpoint, that is a horrible pattern. But I mean, what is this? Like, this is a fucking bull market for ants, guys. Like, you should have been in Nvidia. You should have bought the Nasdaq. after about 2024, right? We got the big pumpage in the crypto presidency, right? Maybe 2025, right? This year, you should have just bought the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is way up. And Bitcoin is just like, it's sideways, right? It's sideways with the hope of pump, but not actually pumping. And alt season should have taken off by now, basically, but it hasn't. Although, again, we are saying, hey, this lower standard deviation band and, kind of like this rising blue band, this is not like an unreasonable spot to have expected the dominance to have made some kind of rebound. But, we really were hoping for a little bit faster. I mean, I said, hey, this chart is going to trend down from here on out. Like, do expect that Bitcoin dominance should trend down a little bit, but man, maybe this is going to be a lot more, right? Maybe it's going to do this thing, right? That would suck. That would suck to have to wait another year and a half for another alt season. But it's not out of the range of possibility. At the moment, I'm not seeing macro crash. Oh, all right. We'll come back to this, but the next reason for the macro crash is obviously going to be the Civil War, in case you haven't figured it out. We'll talk about that when we get to the macro. Remind me if I forget to talk about it. But yeah, it's they always need an excuse. Oh, it's not because we have this fraudulent financial system that's based on bubbles and pops. It's just because you assholes have to Civil War now. Right? It's something like that. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin versus NASDAQ really quick. I already had it up there. Yeah, so you can see Bitcoin versus NASDAQ hasn't done jack or shit for like the entire year, right? After the Bitcoin president in November, we had the pump, and then after that, it's just been NASDAQ. Like, this is still a bullish chart. Don't get me wrong. This still looks like a reasonably nice chart, but again, things are on the verge of like kind of breakdown here. That right there, like if you break down from that, expect to end up here, right? So I know it's kind of stupid, but if we break down 10%, 6%, expect to go another 16%, right? I know that it's like kind of a common stupid thing to say that a lot of price guys say, right? If we get this tiny little movement, then we're going to hyper Bitcoinize. But yeah, the things aren't looking good there for Bitcoin versus NASDAQ. They're not looking like as good as they normally would, right? Like, they effectively, I mean, from 2021, that peak, Bitcoin versus NASDAQ, like, we're still not above that. Bitcoin is still below the 2021 peak on NASDAQ. You could have just bought the NASDAQ at the peak in 2021 and done equally as well in NASDAQ or Bitcoin. So that goes a little bit against the narrative, that we hear from Bitcoiners and all that. But yeah, honestly, guys, like, I feel like we need some positive action here to keep the hope alive on Bitcoin and crypto here, because it's just not feeling good. It doesn't feel right, and everyone's uneasy with that monthly candle close that just happened yesterday, and it just doesn't seem like what it should seem like. Whereas on the other hand, let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at the S&P and the NASDAQ. What happened this week? They made sure that the monthly candle on the NASDAQ closed at reasonably good levels. Look at this pump this week. So where's Monday? Monday's right here. So the market gapped. Oh, shit. That's a gap. That gap might need to be filled. Anyways, so the market gapped up on Monday from the Friday close. So from last Friday until the peak, the NASDAQ gained almost 5%. Right, that is a big move for the NASDAQ in a week. That is really, really bullish action. So going to the monthly candle, they made sure that NASDAQ closed at a really nice monthly candle. That is solid territory there, and got back into the obvious channel that we talked about. Right, we talked about this channel for maybe a couple months now. This is we've had it drawn out here for over a year. So this thing is the channel, and NASDAQ's going to continue up in this channel. It's going to reach for the purple bands here. It's gonna continue going up there. At some point, when this thing collapses out of the channel again, which it will, that'll probably be our sign that all is not well, and it's time to start protecting your bags. So, but for the meantime, that this channel is intact. The macro is fine. Let's see here. Dollar index is edging higher slightly, but not really. Like, this is stable, right? This dollar index is stable. Price of oil is still kind of like, it's kind of a disbeliever, but price of oil is still at $60, $61. It's not a problem. It's a slight weird little tick amongst the sea of things that look fine. Here's the reverse repos. Okay, a little bit of tick up from $0 to $50 billion. Nothing. That's peanuts for these guys. That's not showing us anything. The bonds continue to show us nothing important, nothing useful. Although Jay Powell did lower rates another 0.25% last week. So the government is shut down, but thank God the Federal Reserve is still here. He's got our backs with his tools.
Any thoughts on stopping QT?
Say what? Say that again.
Jay Powell also stopped QT as of December 1st.
Oh, you stopped the quantitative tightening. Let's take a look at there's the M2 money stock. Federal Reserve balance sheet. Why do I not have the Federal Reserve balance sheet pulled up anymore? Walk. Okay, yeah. You can see that you can see this this guy right there has been on a downtrend. Oh wow. They actually got back. They actually quantitatively tightened all the way back to pre-economy cold levels of 2020. Interesting. They actually got below that level. Yeah, this actually makes a lot of sense for them to stop the quantitative tightening. This is more for show than anything. It also relates significantly to the housing market. Man, that's not good. Houses are already expensive enough. Where the fuck is my housing chart? Do I not have it pulled up anymore? Here it is. Yeah, so single family homes. Man, I thought I deleted all these lines. These lines were just when I was testing back in the day to like confirm that yes, June is like the peak. If you're selling a house, June is like the peak sell point, which kind of means you have to put it on the market in like March. But yeah, like summer is the peak housing. Anyways, the point is here that you can see that they reinflated the housing market, and so we kind of got this line. And it's the same if you look at the peaks, right? It's like, kind of like this parallel channel. But if you look at the peaks now, you can see that the housing market is actually not rising as fast as it used to, and presumably that has a lot to do with the quantitative tightening that has been going on ever since they started raising rates. So yeah, that makes sense. We're entering that. So it's like there was this macro scare, things were looking bad. And then they're like, well, no, it's fine. We don't really have to macro crash yet at the moment. So they covered that and they're continuing. But this is this will hit an irreversible point where they can't just, flap their mouths and use the social mechanisms to prevent, the crash or whatever. This is going to hit a real breaking point eventually. I don't know exactly when, but at some point this is going to do that, and these bonds right here are going to do that. They're going to curl under, and when that happens, usually it's synonymous with the market crash, so it's not really a leading indicator, but at least it tells us, hey, this is not just a pullback, right? This is a real crash. Anyways, bonds aren't doing anything. Like, bonds are not telling us that there's a crash coming. The dollar index doesn't tell us there's a crash. The reverse repos don't tell us there's a crash. Oil is like, I'm kind of fucked for now, but it's more of a shit, one of those data points that's way outside of the trend. It's not like really giving us the trend. Can't believe I can't think of that. It's an outlier. Finally, use your words. Yeah, well, U.S. oil is currently a little bit of an outlier, but everything else says that everything is fine in terms of like the macro. So gold, so one thing we should have done a couple weeks ago was examine gold on like a shorter time frame, right? Like the 2-hour time frame. So we had a big peak off here in gold, like 43, almost $4,400, $4,400. And so let's go down to the 2-hour and see what's happening here. We're going to mute these descriptive. We don't need those now. Okay. What do I have? Oh, okay, that's a reference line. So maybe go down to the 1 hour. Maybe it's easier to see on the 1 hour. The thing is that I want to show you that, gold was traveling in the purple bands for, quite this period of time. It finds support in between the purple and blue bands. And then it kind of had this blow off here, right? It did this, it failed to get higher, and then it broke out of trend. This spot right here is about where, we could have said, hey, it's going to take some time before we can make new all-time highs, if we're going to make them at all. This is the kind of situation where you say, hey, it's at the point where gold is now pulling back at the same time that the stock market is pushing significantly higher, right? 5% movement in 1 week is a big deal. And the stock market, has made more like 10% in this entire time that gold has been pulling back from its highs. So this is a pattern. We've talked about this a lot. I'll restate it here for everyone. The pattern is that they have to release, there are real market forces in gold. Central banks really do buy this shit. Countries do buy it. People want gold. And so there's like this pressure release that has to happen. They can't infinitely suppress gold to zero. So when the pressure release needs to happen, they allow it to happen. They even allow it to go maybe too high. They get long. And at some point, so gold will be moving up, and then the stock market will move up with gold. And at some point, they will cap gold. They'll say, all right, let's reassert our ability to temporarily suppress prices. Let's cap gold while we continue to push the stock market. And then we will create we'll create the negative sentiment where people thinking that they're going to get, $10,000 gold, or, they're holding. And then they see the stock market continuing to go. And they're like, why am I going to continue to hold gold when the stock market keeps going up? And considering where we are in the cycle, right? And using the bonds here is our idea for where we are in the cycle, right? We're looking at maybe could be another year, right? Maybe next year. For the crash, like for some, again, long-term is hard to predict specific timelines. So we're just kind of generically saying next year. About a year from now, maybe we'll hit the crash. And so in the meantime, they're going to want to pump that stock market. They're going to want to pump the AI and print the money and get themselves fat paychecks as their fucking bonuses, as they always do. Elon Musk can be patient zero for welfare whore. And then they're going to cap gold to sort of convince people into the markets. And they use this as a means of socially trying to like reinforce the patterns that they want to see. It's kind of like the reverse of the way they do where we talked about the pumps. Like it's a playbook they do. They pump the coin, they generate the interest, and then real plebs get into the market chasing that as they unload their bags and continue to pump that coin to distract people out of, other assets that like Monero, for example. That they don't want people to be in. So they do the same thing on the reverse with gold. They pump it, but now they start suppressing it as they pump everything else because they want to get that general sentiment moving in the direction they want. So that's a very long-winded way of saying that, guys, we need to suspect that the top for gold is in. This is very, very possibly the top. We don't know yet. We won't quite know yet. Things have broken, right? The market is breaking. The fact that we are above the trend line of the 1929 and .com highs on the S&P is a bellwether for a lot of excess liquidity and cash floating around the market. So gold can and will reach for the 42 level, 4,200, 4,300 level. It will at least reach for that level. Whether or not it can actually get back up there and break those levels, that's going to take some time. It's going to probably take at least until next year till we see new all-time highs in gold. So the party's a little bit it's at least on pause. It might be over for gold for at least for the next, it could be on hold for the next few years. But again, lots of inflation, lots of printing. So maybe gold could continue higher. We just have to stop here and say, okay, this could be a problem. It does look like there's on a short-term basis, this does look like there could be a temporary bottom being put in for gold. In fact, I would bet that the next move is going to be up, but I can't tell you that I think gold is going to quickly break the all-time highs. That a resumption of the gold bull market is probably going to take a few months to truly get going again, if it's going to get going at all. We'll have to wait until that time comes and then reevaluate then. So that is basically the macro. Silver continuing to slightly outperform gold. It's slightly edging out over gold. What is that, the monthly? Let's go to the daily. Kind of, sort of. Silver is continuing to outperform gold, but not to any huge degree, maybe 7%. So, all right, I guess that's cool. Silver holders, you're getting a little bit of bone there. You haven't had a bone in a long time. Gold versus the S&P. Yeah, I mean, I would like to say that gold is going to be shooting for these blue bands here, which would put it, relatively speaking, to the S&P 500. That would put it another 70% higher. So maybe this bull market isn't quite over. All right, we have another super chat. Sorry, why do I always say super chat? XMR chat. System D Lover tipped 0.001 XMR. He said, Bowdy, thanks for the answer. No, I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Mastodon, like normal people. Yeah, you're right, Ben. You have a a morally superior position to myself by
A
not
man
being on
after
Twitter.
my own heart. Thank you.
Yeah. This is like I can't. I have no excuses to make for myself, to be honest. Other than I just like interacting with Zcash bots. Obviously, that's why I'm on Twitter. Okay, so I think that's all. I don't think there's anything else to talk about. We got the macro.
You
We hit
mentioned
the crypto.
something about Civil War.
Oh shit! Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So here's the thing: they always need an excuse, right? It wasn't because we printed a shitload of money and hyper financialized the economy after 2008. It was this deadly virus that came off of someone ate a bat in Wuhan and transferred from the COVID to humanity from some bat in China. Okay, all right, guys, sure. No, so that's why the economy crashed. They're gonna have to do it again, right? The pattern's playing out. And they're gonna need an excuse, and they're already telling you what they're gonna do, like the fucking like the ice and the thuggery on the streets. And even if the groypers here on, I don't know if you guys listen to this stream anymore. Maybe Tux can tell us more. He keeps tabs on those guys better than I do. But guys, like you could if you want to say that they have to come here legally, then you need to remove them legally. You can't just trounce the Constitution and American civil rights. You can't just trounce the Bill of Rights and basic human rights to remove the baddies, right? That's not how things work. Like that, you have to, like, if you want to remove them, at least follow the fucking law. So what are they doing? Like they're already putting out the bulletins towards to the National Guard saying, be prepared for civil unrest 2026. Be prepared to respond, blah, blah, blah. They're already seeding it. Like one of the big things that they're doing right now is they are training the personnel that they have added to the Gestapo, to the secret police. They are training these guys on the illegals, saying, hey, these illegals are destroying our glorious civilization and they need to be exported. They need to be sent out of the country. And it's something these guys believe in. And so they are conditioning them to atrocities, right? Because what they're doing is they're using very heavy-handed, strong-arm thug tactics against just like women and children and peaceful people. They're conditioning them to use atrocious kinds of tactics against the population, so that they can later. And I mean, I know we've talked about this for like 20 years now, like in the libertarian circles. This has been talked about for a long time, but this is it, guys. This is the manifestation of this shit. Whether it's a real civil war or manufactured civil war, I don't know. I don't care. I can't even say that I will be going back to the United States anytime soon. Like, I don't know. And it's not looking good, guys. This is looking like a real thing now. So that's going to be the thing. That's going to be the market crash. There's going to be civil unrest, and they're going to have to like shut down. They're going to blame Wall Street, and they're going to tell the boomers, you lost your retirement. Your money is down because the Antifa attacked Wall Street. You know, they're going to make up. And if there's not enough Antifa attacking Wall Street, well, then they're just going to be the Antifa that attacks Wall Street, and that shuts down the society, right? And that's going to be the excuse for the crash. It's not because of their financial mismanagement. It's because of Antifa, right? So just count on that. That's the thing that's going to happen. That's the thing we should expect now. It's becoming much more clear as time goes on. This is not a one-off thing. This wasn't hey, let's export them really quickly and then be done with it. This is a sea change in the face of America, and I really hope that you gropers out there realize that you're being played, and that the Gestapo is coming for you next because you believe in freedom. And that's one thing we actually do agree on. We do agree on freedom, and they're coming for you next, guys. So like, you need to oppose this. I know that you don't like the Browns and the Blacks or whatever, but like, that's not the problem, right? The problem is the fraudulent monetary system and the drug pushers in the corporate world and the Gestapo, right? That's the problem. So if we could like please realize, guys, that we're on the same team, kind of mostly, and just oppose this, right? Because if they want to export illegals, they can at least do it legally. They can at least respect U.S. citizens' rights. Anyways, that's a little bit of a side rant, but anyways, that is what is going to be the thing that they will claim is going to cause the crash as it's coming up. Now, heard it here first ahead of time. We're just at this point, it's a waiting game. It's next year.
Pretty bold prediction. All right.
Yeah. I mean, bro, let's
So
Can't
what do
see
you
anything
think?
else.
And I apologize because I didn't hear everything, but so you probably covered this. So long term, I mean, interest rates are coming down, right? And there seems to be even more kind of momentum out there in that regard, right? More information, right, coming out that we're moving towards lower and lower interest rates. Inflation's going to increase, so assets are probably going to continue to inflate. No.
Yeah. For the meantime, the direction is up, right? The bull market is still on.
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin is looking wonky. Crypto's like looking really weak. But that can turn around at any moment, right? Like they could push crypto higher. They could rotate some funds into crypto. That could be the case. Stock market, definitely the direction is up here. Assets will continue.
Yeah, I mean,
to
it feels like inflated stock market money, right, will go into crypto. Like maybe the bubble ends with crypto, right? Like people are, people are maybe moving some of their stock funds in crypto now at the end of this, stock rally, and then we see the end of the crypto rally. I don't know, just big general potential prediction.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely the case that as they inflate one asset, regular people and big money do rotate. They rebalance their positions, right? Once they've made big profits, that money will filter into the rest of at least at a minimum, that'll filter into the rest of the asset classes. It's asymmetric. It happens on different timelines in a lot of cases. Sometimes it even happens countercyclically. But yeah, that will happen as long as the liquidity continues flowing. Crypto can expect to gain some benefit there. At the same time, crypto prices do have this big fraud leverage component to them. But in general, yeah, you're directionally correct. As long as we continue to see more liquidity, we should hope to see more gains in crypto. So
unless you're talking about Monero, because there's no fraud because it's all organic.
yes, we do get, at the same time, we still do get the sort of hand-me-down liquidity after the fact, right? We still get those gains. So it does benefit our bags as well some, but usually later and after the fact. The other thing too is obviously the bubble here is the AI bubble is going to be, a big part of this too. So let's see, NVIDIA took another big pump this week. Let's see how much that was. In the past 2 weeks, NVIDIA managed to put on about 18%. So that's pretty big. I would expect this to continue. Like they're a defense stock. They occupy an interesting position where they are both a tech stock and a defense stock simultaneously. So that's actually, so it's kind of important. But yeah, like the civil unrest plus the AI bubble, like that's what to expect next year, probably next year.
Maybe it all eventually makes its way into Monero. Yeah, all roads do lead to Monero. I mean, yeah, because I mean, what like you said, gold is inflated. Everything is inflated, obviously. So I do think we'll see a move. Bitcoin will continue to go up as people move their other inflated asset money into Bitcoin, and maybe that's kind of the final pump. And then obviously the altcoins will pump from that. And it will end with an altcoin pump. I mean, that's. I guess that's probably what most people are predicting. So maybe it won't happen. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, so far, I mean, it's the kinds of price movements, even the modest ones that I wanted to see, haven't been totally forthcoming. I mean, okay, we made it to 125 on Bitcoin. That's good. The regression boundary would suggest 200,000 is really our ish. 200,000 ish would be our target. We would kind of hope to already be above the 130 level at this moment. We would have hoped for a much better October, at least back to the 130 level.
And then so do you think this would, so the top was at one, if the top was at 125, what do you then see as being the bear market low? I mean, and when potentially, how far out is that?
My crystal ball only works over the midterm. But let's go to the weekly for this. Obviously, I'm going to say the green line, right? The lower regression boundary. We didn't even quite make it that low, right? We didn't quite make it there. So actually, I need to readjust this. I'll do it at some point once, the bull market's over, or I'm just like feeling optimistic, or I don't know, whatever. Anyways, I need to adjust this green line to incorporate this data now down here. But this is the nature of statistics. You're not always going to hit it correctly. You're not going to hit it exactly. Sometimes you do, but anyways, at the moment, the absolute lowest boundary you would say would be 45,000, but we're probably wouldn't even hit that. Like if we're going to go by the 4-year cycle, it would be 2027 before we did hit that, which would be about 70,000 right here. I'm not saying that's what I expect. I actually think the cycles are going to extend. I actually think this cycle is likely to not end on January or December or November, or whatever. I think we're actually going to have a longer cycle, and I think the 4-year cycle is done. Like it's over.
And so that would imply that we're still in the bull market, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Because as far as the pattern goes, with more liquidity, and they stop the quantitative tightening and they're lowering rates. Like they can continue that for at least another 6 months, probably another 12 months if they really want. So ultimately that's going to spell movement here, on the Bitcoin chart eventually towards the upside, right? Like maybe next year we're looking at like 191,000, and at that point the upper boundary would be about 250,000, right? So these lines are always constantly rising. But yeah.
All right, man. All right. Covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't intend for it to be that long.
I mean, there's a lot going on right now. As I was listening to it in the background, I was just thinking like, how amazing this all is that we're experiencing this. I mean, Zcash, it hurts a little bit, but the fact is there is a privacy coin rally happening right now. So that's exciting.
Honestly, I don't see it. Like, we have positive motion, but I wouldn't say that I wouldn't call Monero's action a rally. I would just say, hey, this is solid price movement towards the upside. Zcash is rallying, but I don't see privacy coin. I don't see privacy coins rallying. Like I just see Zcash rallying.
Well, Zcash went up, Pirate Chain went up, Tari went up, none of which, I have. Oh, Zcash I do.
Tari. It's hard to say that Tari went up.
I mean, it's so low. I know. I'm trying to get them to participate in MoneroTopia, by the way. I think we are making some progress. Would be great. And all, would be nice.
This does look like a potential bottoming spot for Tari, actually. This does has the potential here to form a bottoming pattern and then start going up. How much? Man, that could be a 10x. Shit. All right, maybe it's time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to go get some of that Tari. It started going down.
Get the Tari. That's the problem. I don't think it's too liquid accessible. That's also another issue.
Can't you buy it on XMR Bazaar?
Yeah, I suppose you can. But I don't know what exchange. I don't think it's on instant exchanges, is it? I'm sure it's on an instant exchange.
I know CoinGecko has prices for it, so it must be on something.
It's on like Mexi or something, which has like everything.
But yeah, when I bought Tari, I bought it on XMR.
How do I get on Mexi? It's like it has so much volume. All these Monero's on there, Zano, Zcash. I don't think is it on Trocador? I don't think it is.
Nah, it's not on any of the Trocador instant swaps, and they have quite a few. So it's
so that's a little crazy to me. So
that's now's the time then, right? Like
buy
get
it on
Tari
XMR
now.
Bazaar like a real one.
Yeah.
Like this is actually like if you can buy a coin before it gets listed on the major spots, and then once it gets listed on the instant swap exchanges and all this other stuff, like now you're looking at people that are going to get into the coin. Like that's kind of what happened with BitTensor, right? Like there was this opportunity to buy BitTensor completely outside of the exchange system. It wasn't listed there. You could only get it from people that had mined it because they were full proof of work and no pre-mine. And the time to buy it was before it got listed on the exchanges. So there's definitely the possibility that Tari could now, it's actually formed a chart pattern here where if this is the bottom and it's recovering and you buy it here, you really could hope for a 9-10x on this thing, just to get back to like a resistance spot here. So it's plausible.
Or Paris can keep dumping her bags. I mean, you got to look at the release schedule too of the Tari, right? I don't know. I'm not following that closely, but I remember, that there was quite a few coins that were going to be issued as things progressed that were getting unlocked that were giving people, so.
Hey, that's even more reason for it to pump. They just need to like Fluffy, bro. If you've already involved like investors and stuff, you just need to pay off CZ or whoever. Like, you just got to give them a bag of the stuff, to encourage them to pump it, and then we can all get our 10x. Like, come on, bro, please, bro, pump the coin. Let's see. We have another XMR chat.
Oh, here we go.
Adequate resistance tipped 0.001 XMR. Says Bowdy and Alaska Anon. Try out NeoStore for an F-Droid client. It does background updates as well, a few years before the official F-Droid client added support, and has several other repositories built in. That's very interesting. Maybe that's worth checking out.
Speaking of that, I did figure something out. I remembered that unattended updates for app stores other than the Play Store came out in Android 12. So that's the minimum at which it could have been done. And F-Droid, the official client, did do it a bit after.
Okay. Yeah, I would have to go do some more research. It's one of those things where it's like, I've got the Play Store, my apps get updated, it works. So it's like, it's hard for me to.
But you're on proprietary shitware.
I mean, I'm on Graphene, and the problem with Google Play is that it's spidered into your entire. The entrails of your entire phone. But
I mean, at least if you're going to be using the Play Store, you could use the Aurora Store, because then you can connect to Google anonymously and not have to have a Play
it's
account.
spotty, dude. I've used it. I've used the Aurora Store, and it's like it works, and then sometimes it doesn't, and it's annoying. And just gonna use the Play Store. Like, I need that's why I use Graphene, because it's a seamless solution. It just works, and I don't have to think about it, and it doesn't fuck up. And occasionally, once in a blue moon, it does a weird thing on me, but it's like not a problem. So like, I don't know. I haven't. Maybe I'm being a boomer here, and it's been 2 years since I've tried messing around with Aurora and F-Droid. But I don't know. Maybe I need to go try it again. But honestly, I'll wait for the Graphene guys to finish. To say that they're, to sanctify their repo, and then I'll just go with that. Is probably what's going to happen.